There are examples in like ancient history about Native Americans using like tufts of cotton or different things to, and then fashioning hooks and catching fish on those kinds of naturally engineered things. It's pretty neat. For me, I used to fish with spinners. I've always liked to fish, so it's kind of in our blood. My great grandfather was a fisherman, and it just is, I think, in your blood. I mean, it's something that you really just have to do or are compelled to do. So I fished with spinners, and I made my own spinners for a long, long time. And then a friend of mine from high school, I went fishing with him one time, and he showed me how to fly fish, and it was over after that. Really, after I learned how to tie my own flies, it was over. That was the pinnacle of my fishing experience, to be able to tie flies, to imitate bugs that fish are feeding on, to fool them, into taking something that I made from fibers and, just spinning things onto a hook, trying to match their diet and everything. And that was just such a fascinating part of the sport. And so then it got to, buying expensive equipment. Fly rods, my very favorite fly rod is just, and to this day, is my Sage, my XP. I have a 594 that's a 4-piece, a 5-weight that just is a phenomenal rod. When I saw a fish have a feeding response, so the fish is actually, instead of striking at a lure out of anger or aggression, the fish comes up to the surface, looks at the fly, makes a decision whether, oh, that's good or not, and slowly takes it off the surface, is like, it's breathtaking. It's like one of those things that you just can't, it's really, really hard to describe unless you have that innate need to catch fish, or it's just one of those things in nature that's just undescribable. It's an undescribable feeling. I'm going from this beautiful graphite rod to a bamboo rod. What's the next step in the evolution? What's the next phase of that? Because I've enjoyed the bamboo so much. Could I actually just make a rod that worked from a dogwood branch? The bushes next to the side of the river. Do I even need a fly rod? Could I go down to the water with nothing other than maybe a piece of fly line or some tippet material and things and some flies, but actually fashion my own fly rod? Okay, so it's been a lot of years I've been thinking about what it would be like to just go and try to fly fish with the most rudimentary things, like if I were to be able to find a stick, to use as a fly rod, or if I were be able to braid my own string and use it for fly line, and make my own flies out of, anything that I could find in the wilderness. And the first thing I would like to do is start out by just seeing if I can make a fly rod, out of dogwood branch. I like dogwood because It's real pliable. It you know, it doesn't snap when you bend it, and I think that it would make a pretty good material for a fly rod. So I think the idea is to go out and to find a stick that's going to work. I think I'll just use an old fly line that I could cut and, you know, just use to cast through one snake guide. You know, I think that would work out. So I'm using some just flat wax nylon, and I'm going to just start wrapping it around the rod to start my attachment for the guide. We're going to whip finish this just like you would a fly, only we're just going to do it by hand. Basically, that's the idea. You know, I've fished my whole fly fishing career with really nice fly rods. I've always used Sage. I have an old XP Sage that's my go-to rod, and you know, and I've just absolutely loved it. I also fish a lot of bamboo and things like that. But if I could put together a kit that would be just a backpacking type kit that would fit inside of a Ziploc sandwich bag, that you could realistically go out into the wilderness and catch a fish with some kind of reliability, I think that would be something. Not only will that fire heat this up and help us to bend it straight, it also, I think it activates a rosin or something inside of the stick. You can smell it, you can feel it. It's real oily, and I think it actually helps to stiffen the rod just a little bit too. And you'll find after it dries, or you know, cools down, it'll actually be a little bit faster action. So one of the differences that I found between, you know, when you're casting a graphite, a really high-end graphite rod, they're so fast and you can cast so much line so easily. And then you move to the bamboo and the action is so much slower, and it takes a little bit more patience. It takes a little bit more, I don't know if a skill is the right word, just I think patience is a good word. But then, you know, I was wondering how would it be to cast a stick, you know? I mean, it's just such a basic thing. And really, you do have to have a lot more patience. It's a lot slower action even than a bamboo rod. And I was wondering, you know, what it would feel like to actually catch a fish on a stick, and it really depends on the stick that you choose. The fish that took, the first one was probably 19 inches long, and he was really heavy, and I mean, I had him on for maybe 5 seconds and he just popped the hook right off, and I didn't know if it was even possible. I thought at that point, you know, this might just be a wild goose chase. When I caught that first fish, it was just so exhilarating. I mean, I hooked into an 18-inch, big, beautiful brown trout. What a test for the stick. And that fish is on the line and it's just pulsing, just like, you know, it's just the adrenaline rush that you get with catching a big fish like that. And just feeling the action of the stick, it's just so natural in your hand. And, you know, it was everything that I wondered if it would be. You know, I wondered if it would work. It worked beautifully. Wonder how it felt. It felt great. So the theory originally played out, and it was proven that you can do that. You can bring the fish in, actually pretty efficiently. I was wondering if it would take a while to bring the fish in, and it's not much longer than a regular fly rod. I mean, you can really fight the fish in and net him just like you would a normal fly rod.